They say this picture is fake, but after what you hear and see today, you might think differently. Scientists have discovered even more unusual and, most importantly, completely real finds that reveal the astonishing size of dinosaurs. Today, I'll show you those discoveries and more. Deep beneath the surface of a remote cave system in South America, an astonishing discovery has left explorers and researchers questioning everything they know about prehistoric life. A colossal rib cage, larger than anything known to science, was reportedly found by a group of spelunkers in the late 1990s. The bones, partially embedded in the cave walls, were unlike any typical dinosaur fossils. They were massive, curving structures, stretching high above the explorers' heads, as if the remains of a creature so enormous, it should have never been able to walk the earth. According to those who allegedly saw it, the bones were in an impossibly well-preserved state, not fossilized like one would expect after millions of years. They weren't brittle or turned to stone, but instead had a strange, hardened texture, like something that had been preserved under unique conditions unknown to modern science. Some say the shape of the ribcage suggested a sauropod-like creature, yet much larger than Argentinosaurus or Patagodontan. If true, this could mean that dinosaurs grew to sizes far beyond what paleontologists believe possible. For centuries, stories of massive dragon bones have been woven into the fabric of Chinese history. Long before the world even had a word for dinosaur, villagers in remote regions stumbled upon enormous fossilized remains, bones so large that the only explanation they could come up with was that they belonged to dragons. These relics were often ground into powder for traditional medicine, their true significance lost to time. But what if some of these bones weren't just typical dinosaur fossils? What if they were evidence of something far larger, something that challenges everything we think we know about prehistoric creatures? One of the most perplexing cases involves a massive femur bone, allegedly unearthed in the early 20th century in a remote part of China. Reports describe it as twice the size of any known sauropod leg bone, suggesting a creature of incomprehensible scale. The villagers who found it, unaware of its scientific importance, reportedly sold pieces of it to medicine shops before the remaining fragments mysteriously disappeared. Some say the government intervened, confiscating the bone and ensuring it would never be studied. Others believe it was simply lost, like so many other giant fossils mistaken for dragon remains. And this is not an isolated case. In 1991, a farmer in Sichuan province reportedly unearthed a set of enormous vertebrae, each one several feet across, far larger than anything belonging to known dinosaurs. But before paleontologists could arrive to study them, the bones were gone. Some say they were confiscated by authorities and locked away. Others claim they were intentionally destroyed to avoid rewriting history. In a desolate, rocky landscape, three men stand frozen, staring into an enormous sinkhole. But it's not the abyss that terrifies them, it's what's inside. Embedded in the earth, partially unearthed by time itself, is a colossal dinosaur skull, so massive it defies all logic. The teeth, sharp as daggers, are intact, as if the creature had only recently perished. Some claim this is proof of a lost lineage of super predators, creatures larger than anything in the fossil record. Others whisper of a cover-up, suggesting the site was sealed off soon after the photo surfaced. But the real question is, if this skull was found, where's the rest of the body? Fossils rarely tell the full story. Most are shattered, scattered remains, mere fragments of creatures that once roamed the earth. But in 2011, miners in Alberta, Canada uncovered something that shouldn't have been possible. A dinosaur so perfectly preserved it looked like it had died yesterday. The nodosaur, a heavily armored plant eater, was found with skin, scales, and even its last meal fossilized inside. It wasn't just a skeleton, it was a near-complete dinosaur mummy, unlike anything paleontologists had ever seen. The mystery deepens when you consider how fragile organic material is. How did soft tissue survive for 100 million years? Normally, bodies decay within months, with bones eventually turning to stone over millions of years. But this nodosaur still had its battle-worn armor plates, skin patterns, and muscle outlines as if frozen in time. Some scientists suggest it was rapidly buried by an ancient, unknown disaster, preventing decomposition. Others argue it could hint at prehistoric conditions we don't fully understand, possibly rewriting what we know about fossilization. There are dinosaur tracks all over the world, but few sites have caused as much controversy as the Paluxy River in Texas. Here, perfectly preserved three-toed dinosaur footprints are stamped into solid rock. That's not surprising. Sauropods and theropods roamed this land millions of years ago. But alongside them, researchers found something impossible: human-like footprints, as if people once walked beside creatures that were supposed to be extinct long before humans ever appeared. The tracks were first noticed in the early 1900s, with reports claiming the human-like prints showed clear toes, heels, and arches, appearing to stride alongside or even inside some dinosaur tracks. Skeptics insist the prints are either eroded dinosaur tracks or clever hoaxes, but some of the impressions remain frustratingly hard to explain. If these are real, they could mean one of two things: either dinosaurs survived into human history, or our understanding of time itself is completely wrong. Over the years, some of the prints have mysteriously vanished, washed away by the river, destroyed, or removed. Was this an attempt to protect conventional history? Or were these discoveries never meant to be taken seriously in the first place? Regardless, the idea that massive dinosaurs could have walked alongside early humans is hard to ignore. If dinosaurs were bigger than we thought, wouldn't it make sense that at least one of these massive creatures somehow survived into modern times? Deep in the dense, untouched jungles of Central Africa, stories have circulated for centuries about a colossal, long-necked beast, one that sounds eerily similar to the sauropods of the past. The locals call it Mokolembembe, meaning one who stops the flow of rivers. Unlike most cryptids, this isn't a tale of some shadowy creature lurking in the distance. Eyewitnesses describe it in detail, with a thick body, a long tail, and a neck towering over the water, just like a Brachiosaurus or Apatosaurus. Expeditions to find Mokele-Mbembe have taken place for decades, with explorers and researchers gathering startling accounts. Some claim to have seen gigantic footprints, far larger than those of any known living animal, pressed deep into the muddy riverbanks. Others report glimpses of something so large that it shook the water as it moved, disappearing into the depths before it could be captured on film. The most shocking claim came from a 1981 expedition where a researcher reported seeing the immense creature rear its long neck out of a river, only to slip away before any evidence could be collected. Could this be a sauropod that defied extinction, hidden in the deepest parts of the world, untouched by modern civilization? The Amazon rainforest is often called Earth's final frontier, a place so vast and unexplored that new species are discovered every year. But what if some of the creatures hidden in its depths aren't just new, but prehistoric? Indigenous tribes in the region have long spoken of a monstrous, land-shaking beast that moves through the jungle, toppling trees and leaving behind massive footprints. What makes these reports unsettling is their striking similarity to known sauropods. Creatures like Argentinosaurus and Dreadnoughtus, which grew over 100 feet long and weighed as much as 12 elephants. Hunters and explorers describe seeing enormous tail-dragging marks, as if something truly massive had passed through the jungle. Some accounts even mention glimpses of a long-necked creature feeding on treetops, only to vanish when approached. Scientists, of course, dismiss these claims as exaggerated tales. After all, how could something that big go unnoticed? But the Amazon is still largely uncharted, its rivers and dense foliage capable of hiding creatures far larger than we imagine. If the people who have lived there for generations swear by what they've seen, could it be possible that the largest dinosaurs of all time never truly disappeared? If true, this would mean that not only were dinosaurs much bigger than we thought, but some may still be towering over us right now, hidden in the last untouched corners of our world. Dinosaurs were once thought to be confined to warm, tropical lands, but discoveries in Antarctica have shattered that assumption. Fossils of massive creatures have been unearthed beneath layers of ice, proving that prehistoric giants once thrived in places we never expected. But here's the unsettling part: some reports suggest that the largest of these creatures might have never been officially recorded. Could it be that Antarctica holds evidence of dinosaurs far bigger than anything we've ever imagined? Fossils that for some reason aren't being revealed to the public? Back in the 1990s, a research team working in the Transantarctic Mountains allegedly found a fossilized vertebra so massive it dwarfed those of known titanosaurs like Argentinosaurus. It was unlike anything in the fossil record, suggesting a creature even larger than the biggest dinosaurs ever discovered. Yet, before any formal study could take place, the fossil was removed and no official reports were released. Was this just a logistical issue, or did the discovery pose a problem for existing scientific theories? What we do know is that Antarctica, once a lush, forested land, was home to some of the largest dinosaurs ever known, including Glacialosaurus and Cryolophosaurus. But what if we've only scratched the surface? With miles of ice covering the continent, there could be fossilized remains of creatures so massive, they would force us to rethink everything we know about prehistoric life. If the biggest dinosaurs are still waiting to be found beneath the Antarctic ice, just how gigantic were the creatures that once roamed our planet? Most people picture pterosaurs as reptilian birds, swooping over prehistoric waters, no bigger than a modern eagle. But in reality, some pterosaurs were larger than fighter jets, their wings stretching over 40 feet, making them the largest flying animals in Earth's history. The most famous of them, Quetzalcoatlus, was already impossibly large, but what if an even bigger species existed, one that has somehow escaped scientific recognition? In 2018, a fossilized wing bone was reportedly discovered in Mongolia, and if initial estimates were correct, it belonged to a pterosaur with a wingspan of nearly 50 feet. Larger than anything officially known to science. But strangely, the fossil was never formally documented, and attempts to retrieve more information on the site led to dead ends. Some believe this was just a misidentification. Others, however, suggest that we've been underestimating just how massive some prehistoric creatures really were. And then, there are the sightings. Pilots in South America and Africa have reported enormous bat-like silhouettes soaring at altitudes where no known bird could survive. Could these be survivors of a lost lineage of ultra-massive pterosaurs, relics of a time when creatures dominated the skies in ways we've yet to comprehend? If pterosaurs were even bigger than we imagined, it raises one final question. What else did we get wrong about the size of dinosaurs? Fossils should be simple, remains of long-extinct creatures trapped in rock for millions of years. But what happens when something unnatural is found embedded in prehistoric stone? Over the past century, multiple discoveries have hinted at something that shouldn't exist: metallic objects, complex shapes, and even what appear to be fossilized mechanical gears found in rock layers dating back to the age of dinosaurs. Could it be that prehistoric creatures lived alongside an advanced civilization, one that vanished without a trace? One of the most famous cases surfaced in 2013, when Russian miners discovered a collection of perfectly symmetrical metallic gears embedded in a chunk of 300-million-year-old coal. The object looked manufactured, resembling something out of modern machinery. Metallurgical tests suggested the pieces were made of aluminum alloy, a material not naturally occurring in such a form. While skeptics argued it was a bizarre geological formation, others questioned how a man-made object could end up locked inside rock formed long before humans even existed. Other similar discoveries have emerged across the world: screw-like structures found in prehistoric quartz, strange metallic spheres pulled from deep within the earth, and what appears to be a fossilized wheel-like object inside a coal deposit. Each time, mainstream science dismisses them as natural anomalies, but the question remains: if even one of these discoveries is real, what does it mean for our understanding of history? And here's where it connects to dinosaurs. What if the reason some dinosaurs grew so much larger than we expected wasn't just evolution, but environment? Could they have existed in a time where conditions were shaped by something greater, something more advanced than we currently recognize? Perhaps we've been looking at the past the wrong way. Maybe prehistoric giants weren't just products of nature, but of a lost world we've yet to uncover. If there's one dinosaur that completely shattered our expectations of size, it's Argentinosaurus. Before its discovery, paleontologists believed that Brachiosaurus and Diplodocus were the largest land animals ever. But in the 1990s, in Argentina's remote Patagonian region, fossilized bones were unearthed that made even the biggest known dinosaurs look small in comparison. At an estimated 100 feet long and weighing up to 100 tons, Argentinosaurus was a walking skyscraper, its massive frame stretching longer than a Boeing 737. Its femur alone was taller than a full-grown human. To put that into perspective, if Argentinosaurus stood next to a modern African elephant, the largest land animal alive today, the elephant would barely reach its knees. This discovery completely redefined what we thought was possible for terrestrial creatures. But here's the real shocker: Argentinosaurus might not even be the biggest. Some paleontologists believe that even larger dinosaurs could still be waiting to be discovered. In fact, one of Argentinosaurus's closest relatives may have stolen its crown, a dinosaur so massive its sheer weight might have been enough to reshape the land beneath its feet. If Argentinosaurus proved dinosaurs could grow larger than we imagined, Brouhathkyosaurus took that idea and pushed it to the extreme. This massive dinosaur, believed to have lived in what is now India, is one of the most debated giants in paleontology. Reports from the 1980s suggest it could have been even bigger than Argentinosaurus, with estimates placing its length at 115 feet and its weight at a staggering 150 tons. If true, it would be the largest land animal to ever walk the earth. But here's the issue: almost nothing remains of Brouhathkyosaurus today. The original fossils, which included massive limb bones and vertebrae, were never properly preserved. They either deteriorated over time or were lost, making it impossible to verify their true size. This lack of physical evidence has led some scientists to question if Brouhathkyosaurus was even a sauropod at all. Some have argued it may have belonged to a completely different dinosaur group. But if the original size estimates were correct, it would mean that the largest dinosaurs were even bigger than our most extreme predictions. And if one enormous sauropod could reach such sizes, others might have as well. Like a more recent discovery from Argentina that stunned the world. For decades, Argentinosaurus was thought to be the undisputed heavyweight champion of dinosaurs. But in 2014, paleontologists digging in Patagonia uncovered a new contender for the title of the largest dinosaur ever, Patagotitan majorum. Unlike Brouhathkyosaurus, this discovery was backed by dozens of well-preserved bones, allowing scientists to reconstruct its massive frame with far more certainty. Estimated to have reached 122 feet in length and weighing around 70 tons, Patagotitan was a true giant. It was so big that if it walked down a modern street, its head would tower over a 3-story building. This dinosaur wasn't just an impressive size, it redefined what we thought was biologically possible for land animals. The sheer mass of its body raises questions about how it supported its weight, moved, and even circulated blood through such a long neck. Its discovery also suggests that Patagonia may have been a hotspot for mega-sized dinosaurs, possibly home to even bigger species that have yet to be found. Among the largest dinosaurs ever discovered, Dreadnoughtus shrani stands out, not just for its size, but for what it represents. Unlike other titanosaurs, which are often known from fragmentary remains, Dreadnoughtus was found almost complete, allowing paleontologists to estimate its true dimensions with far more accuracy. This massive sauropod, unearthed in Argentina in 2005, measured 85 feet long and weighed an estimated 65 tons, the equivalent of more than a dozen African elephants. What makes Dreadnoughtus so fascinating is how powerful and well-built it was. Many titanosaurs had gracile, lightweight skeletons, relying on sheer size for protection. But Dreadnoughtus had an exceptionally thick and muscular frame, suggesting it was not just massive, but also stronger than most of its relatives. Its gigantic tail, one of the most robust of any known sauropod, could have easily been used as a defensive weapon, capable of delivering devastating blows to predators. Its name, meaning fears nothing, reflects this idea. A creature so large and well-built that it had no natural enemies. If Dreadnoughtus was built for strength, Supersaurus was built for pure length. This North American sauropod, first discovered in Colorado in the 1970s, may have reached an astonishing 137 feet from head to tail, making it possibly the longest dinosaur ever recorded. For comparison, that's longer than a blue whale and nearly twice the length of a standard semi-truck. What's most remarkable about Supersaurus is that it wasn't alone. Fossil evidence suggests that multiple individuals lived in the same area, meaning these gigantic creatures may have roamed in herds, moving together in landscapes that must have trembled under their weight. Despite their extreme size, Supersaurus and its relatives, known as diplodocids, were surprisingly lightweight for their length, with long, slender necks and tails that helped them balance their massive bodies. For decades, scientists debated whether some of the longest sauropod fossils belonged to Supersaurus or entirely different species. But recent research confirmed that these record-breaking bones all belong to this one incredible dinosaur. And if Supersaurus could reach such extreme lengths, it raises a question. Were there even bigger species we haven't found yet? With every new discovery, we're realizing that dinosaurs were not just massive, they were far bigger than we ever thought possible. Some dinosaurs were long, others were heavy, but Futalonctosaurus was both. Discovered in Patagonia in 2000, this titanosaur measured 110 feet long and weighed as much as 80 tons, making it one of the largest and most complete sauropods ever found. Unlike other titanosaurs, Futalonctosaurus had a thicker, more muscular neck, suggesting it needed extra strength to support its massive size. But here's what makes it even more fascinating. It lived in a time and place where giants thrived. It shared its ecosystem with some of the largest carnivorous dinosaurs and other massive titanosaurs, proving that prehistoric Patagonia was home to the biggest creatures to ever walk the earth. With every new discovery, we realized that dinosaurs weren't just enormous. They were beyond anything we ever imagined. And if the fossils we found so far are this massive, what else is still waiting to be uncovered? That's about it. Write in the comments which dinosaur impressed you the most. For more useful information, watch other videos.